Well, hello and welcome to EllieMD's live educational series. We are glad you're joining us. At EllieMD, we go beyond telehealth. This is a space for real conversations, science-backed education, and personalized care designed to help you take control of your health and longevity journey. Today, we're thrilled to welcome back Dr. Jason Pencek, a board-certified nurse practitioner and chiropractor who combines traditional and integrated medicine to deliver whole person care. With over a decade of experience in nursing, chiropractic medicine, education, peptide therapy, hormone optimization, and longevity treatments, Dr. Pencek's work centers on improving metabolic health and helping patients achieve sustainable results through GLP-1 based therapies. His approach is all about balance, vitality, and long term wellness. Jason, it's so great to have you back. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you
Welcome,
for having me,
welcome.
honey. I am super excited to be here today as a caterpillar and joining to talk about some peptides and help educate everyone here and maybe answer some questions at the end.
I know. Everywhere I had the pleasure of joining you at a conference, a women's health conference a few weeks ago, and you're a celebrity, guys, amongst the health community. Jason
Yeah.
is the man. But we would like to know for people who are just getting to know you, tuning in for the first time, just give us a brief background of how you got into peptides and chiropractic medicine and everything that you're doing and why you're so passionate about helping your patients.
Of course. Well, years ago, I decided that I wanted to do something in the medical field, and I went to school, did nursing, and when I was in nursing, I realized I wanted a little bit more. Nursing just wasn't going to be enough for me. I wanted something beyond nursing. I wanted to actually take more control over patient healthcare. And at the time, I didn't know what chiropractors did, and they work with their hands. That's what chiro means, hands. So I thought this is a great idea. I'll jump into chiropractic. Had no idea what they did. Went to school, started taking the program, didn't know what an adjustment was, and then found out and quickly found out that as great as chiropractors can be and all the stuff they can do, I wanted to play with, IVs and hormones and other stuff in the medical field. So I went back and got my nurse practitioner degree while I was still in school. And while I had just finished, I decided the next thing I was going to do would be to learn all the alternative medicine I possibly could. So I went to seminar after seminar, started with IV therapy and doing hormones, and that wasn't enough. And about 7 years ago, I stumbled upon peptide medicine accidentally when my friends were asking me to get them steroids and growth hormones. So I still laugh about this because they begged me to get them steroids to lift more and get in better shape, and then they wanted growth hormone. And growth hormone is great. And I started researching this stuff. I found growth hormone peptides right away and immediately got really interested in the peptide medicine space. Started going to some of the first seminars that were going on in the United States, and the big first ones, and fell in love with peptide medicine. So about 7 years ago, I started using peptides. I've been practicing for about 10 years now, and I fell in love. And ironically, none of my friends work with me. So after all the work I went through to get them peptides and to get them to be better, none of them really work out, and none of them actually use me at all. So, hey, jokes on them because now I'm in the best shape of my life at 40 right now. And I tell people all the day, all the peptides, all the things that EllieMD does is the same stuff I do in practice now. And we have some great results, the people that we work with. I transformed my own health. If you've been to my Instagram, there's a good before and after picture. And it's pretty phenomenal from where I've taken myself. And I've pretty much maintained my fitness and I guess my body, mind, and everything for the last probably 4 or 5 years now. So if anyone out there thinks they can't do it, let's help you get to where you want to go by utilizing peptides. And today we can talk about some of those options that we have that can help move that needle for you to the next area of health that you want to get to.
I know there's a really good before and after of Jason. If you want, go check it out on his Instagram page and you'll see it's
Mhm.
transformational, all the peptides.
Yep.
So, for anyone new to peptides, they're tuning in for the first time, they're hearing the word peptide for the very
hmm
first time. Let's bring it back to the foundation and the fundamentals. What is a peptide? What's all the
Great.
buzz around peptides? Is collagen a peptide? What's a peptide?
Yeah, that's great. Peptides are, we call them mini proteins, is what I would say. So we understand what proteins are. We all eat protein. We can understand what that might be. Proteins, the building block for these things are called amino acids. Things like glycine, things like histidine, You probably heard of tryptophan when it comes to turkey, and people eat turkey and they get tired afterwards. This is the thing called tryptophan that people talk about. So basically, these building blocks, these amino acids, get put together to make either a protein or a something smaller called a peptide. The way this works, if we use this the same way we use language, think of a amino acid as a word. Take the word dog. If I say dog, you understand the word, but you don't understand how it's being used. When you put all these peptides of these amino acids together, you basically put see the dog run, you understand what that means. This is the same thing our bodies together in sequence, and they can do different things in our body. For example, the GLP-1s are really trending right now. And what do? They work on things such as slowing down gut emptying, helping satiety, reducing hunger, and then helping people lose weight, helping work on blood sugar. So each one of the peptides that we have available to us are doing something different to the system and causing an effect on the system. And again, the reason we like peptides is they're super safe. They're just a bunch of amino acids put together, and then they can cause the body to do different things. We have canteen peptides, we have peptides for libido, we have peptides for repair recovery. I always joke that there is a peptide for that. So if you come to me, if you're coming to EllieMD and you're like, I need something to do this, very likely there is a peptide that can be used to treat that.
Okay, so Jason, I have to ask, I get this question a lot. If collagen's a peptide, it's available on Amazon. Why are some peptides considered research grade? Why are some peptides only available through a doctor's prescription and they come through
Mhm.
compounding pharmacies? And why are some peptides available, readily available, on Amazon? And what's the difference?
Oh,
And what's the difference?
it's a good question. I get asked this a lot too. Well, let's first start with the research grade peptides. No one's going to hate on research grade peptides. These companies are trying the best they can. Unfortunately, there is nobody looking over them. So let's say you order a peptide from this company and you get it, or you don't get it, for example, because they just don't send it to you. There's no one to call and complain about. Number two, let's say you get this peptide, something bad happens. You have a big adverse reaction, maybe sends you to the ER. Maybe something was in this that you didn't know about. There's no body you can go complain to, like a larger body like the FDA or a board, and say, hey, I got this, I got injured. What do I do? Well, you're injecting something that says not for human consumption, so not exactly great. We also have issues with things such as lipopolysaccharides. This is LPS, endotoxins. A lot of these companies are not cleaning their peptides. LPS can lead to things like Alzheimer's disease if we have enough of this as you get older. It also can cause issues with your immune system. So again, these are endotoxins. These are bacteria that have broken apart. These pieces of bacteria are going to hit your immune system. You can get a really, really big immune response from taking some of these things. Histamine responses. You can have responses such as temperature, feel really sick, not do well. We've had patients that we've worked with that have taken peptides from online sources and have caused some bad reactions. And again, I have a good story. A couple of years ago, a friend of mine was working at a peptide research company he owned, and he came to me and said, "Hey, I had this company I worked with that I know. They got tirzepatide from their supplier, or what they thought was tirzepatide, and it was actually semaglutide, so it was mislabeled." And if they hadn't done testing, if they hadn't done anything else, and they had just put this out to the general public, you would have been taking semaglutide instead of tirzepatide. For anyone out there that's taking semaglutide and then moves to tirzepatide, going the opposite way is not fun. All that nausea and getting sick, and the dosing's totally wrong. So people would have been giving themselves the wrong dose. They would have felt really awful. They could have had some really bad things happen to them if they were dosing themselves at 10 milligrams of semaglutide rather than taking the 10 milligrams of tirzepatide. So there's a safety issue that comes along for that. When you have compounding pharmacies, there's someone responsible. At the end of the day, if something happens, someone out there can actually support you. You can also call compounding pharmacies at times. You can call the practitioners. You can actually get a hold of someone to tell you some responses and get information back on what is happening, and what you might need to do or what this can be used for. I do always encourage my patients to get from compounding pharmacies whenever they can. Anyone I talk to, I always say this whenever I'm online. I'm always saying, hey, when people ask, where do you get this from? I always say, I get it compounded. That's what I do in practice. Compounding is the best way to get peptides. It's usually the cleanest, not usually, it is the cleanest, and it has the best efficaciousness to it because you're actually getting something that's been tested. The pharmacy is responsible for doing this stuff, and they screw up, they have the FDA to deal with. So there's a lot more on the line for these people. These peptide companies that exist, a lot of them can be shut down. In fact, none of them are legal. If you're a research grade peptide company, it is technically not legal for you to be selling to any humans at all. But they do it, they get away with it. So we always try to say, as much as possible, work with a compounding pharmacy.
Yes, cheaper is not always better.
No.
Uh, and you do get what you pay for. Also, another one of our friends at Fineric, remember he does the
Yeah.
testing. He was
I was
saying
going to
that the
mention that.
vial sizes are very
Hmm.
inconsistent amongst the different peptides. So you could be getting a 5 milligram vial, but this one's 5 milligrams, this one's 7, this one's 3. So there's no consistency, and you as a patient, it's hard to dose. But thank you for touching on the LPS and all the impurities. Now, talk to us about the peptides that are on Amazon and collagen peptides and all the
So collagen peptides are great, but we actually have a better peptide for that called GHK-CU, which I'm pretty positive EllieMD has. And this one actually does increase your collagen production. So taking collagen is great. Now you have collagen available, but it's not going to repair your tendons, ligaments, and help your skin the way you think it is. I like to tell people that collagen peptides are just another protein source. They're not going to make, not that they're not going to work at all. I do have patients that take collagen peptides. They do think it helps improve the ligaments, some tendons, some. It not really intended for that. But when you use something like GHK-CU, what GHK-CU is going to turn on the mechanisms to actually increase your collagen production. So as you get older, GHK-CU goes down, and you can take GHK-CU to increase the collagen in your body. Now, again, not the collagen peptides that you buy online are complete junk. Again, they're a great, way to take some protein in, but I don't use them in patients for, improving anything long term. It's not one of the supplements I typically recommend. Also, a lot of the stuff you buy online, probably from China. So there might be stuff you get online, might be full of impurities you might not know. I always talk about methylene blue when people talk about Amazon products. Methylene blue is something used in practice. And usually the methylene blue found on Amazon is not 99% pure. That stuff's sold to the compounding pharmacies. Their other stuff's just sold online. So you might get stuff that has 95% purity. What's 5% in there? Well, that could be heavy metals. So I'm always worried about heavy metals in there. No one's doing this testing. No one really knows what's in there. And it's just up to you to trust this company is being, totally in your best interest. And unfortunately, I think everyone out there knows capitalism greed is real. If it might be cheaper to buy somewhere else, but not the same quality, who cares? If you have no one to answer to, buying online is not a bad thing. So again, that's the big reason why we don't use any kind of online products. We're research grade. Most of the stuff you're looking at on Amazon is not actual peptides. Most of the peptides we're using need to be injected. They can't pass through the gut. There are several that can get through the gut, but they're not going to be systemic. The ones we take orally are mostly touchy on the gut, such as BPC-157. That's one we use for gut healing pretty regularly in practice. But again, I'm not using systemically. I'm not having patients take BPC-157 and expecting their knee or shoulder pain, to get better or tendons and ligaments to improve. Because again, most of the peptides you're taking orally get broken down in the gut. We have enzymes in our body to break these peptides down. That is what our body is made to do. So when you take things orally, you need to take extremely high doses for it to be systemic, which is just not useful. And secondarily, most of them don't make it past the gut. So they have absolutely no real world use to work that well. There are some formulations that can be used orally, but most of these companies online are not using the formulations, nor even understand how to pass that gut barrier. I think EllieMD has a few options that we can use orally that work decently well that could be useful if you're not wanting to inject. But most often, the technology is not really out there to use that.
Thank you for touching on that, Jason. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna just tell you, give you the peptide, and I'd like for you to spend, 3 to 5 minutes on
Sure.
it. So let's start with,
That's it.
if you can, because I've got a list. I want to go over
Okay.
all the products that we currently offer, and I just want you to give us a brief overview of each product. If you go over, that's perfectly fine. So let's start with GLP-1. Single agonist, aka semaglutide. Let's start there.
Okay. So GLP-1. That one's a huge one. You gave me 3 to 5 minutes on the biggest peptide you use.
Okay, spend a little bit more.
That's
Let's
fine. That's
start
fine.
there. And
I'll
then
take
after
six
that, we'll
minutes.
do tears up.
So GLP-1, probably my favorite peptide. One of my favorite peptides. It works in lots of things. What we like the GLP-1s for is that they can help work on satiation. They help keep you full. They slow your stomach emptying down. That's like one of the big things they do. They help regulate blood sugar. We actually make GLP-1 naturally. It's called incretins. GLP-1 and GIP, which is another one you'll touch on here in a second. These are both made naturally. Um, they can help increase or do put out our insulin. It's how we start making insulin. You put GLP-1 in the system, it increases insulin, it slows down our stomach emptying. This is actually discovered in the Gilead monster, and everyone freaks out and says, "Oh, it's found in the venom." Well, not exactly. In this reptile, they're in the desert. They don't eat often. They don't get to eat as often as we get to eat. They don't graze. So when they eat a meal, they use this GLP-1 to slow their own stomach emptying down so they can have this meal slowly digest so they don't have to eat as often because they aren't going to eat as often. So what it's being used for in the Gilly monster, the exact same thing we use it for humans, is that it's slowing stomach emptying down. This is a really big one. The reason this works so well is it goes to the brain, hypothalamus, and tells us, hey, you're full. You don't have to eat as much. A lot of the problems we see right now with people that are gaining weight is they don't have this response to turning off the hunger. So people just keep grazing all day long. We snack all day long and we wonder how we gain this weight. Well, it's because you snacked on an extra 400 calories a day, not even thinking about it. And the GLP-1s are wonderful for reducing that food noise. That's why I tell everyone, you want to reduce food noise, GLP-1s are wonderful for this. So the GLP-1, I absolutely love. It does a lot of things besides just weight loss. This is what I keep telling people. I use it in my practice all the time for multiple things. I'm on a GLP-1. I will be on one for as long as I possibly can. Before we had semaglutide out, I would use something called liraglutide. You had to inject it more frequently. It was a bit more expensive. It didn't have the weight loss we saw with semaglutide. All of a sudden, semaglutide came out and everyone got into it because of the weight loss, right? Anywhere between 15 to 18% weight loss is pretty amazing from doing, a single injection, potentially just once a week, or maybe taking something orally to increase GLP-1s. So GLP-1s, not only do they work on helping you lose weight, but they reduce the risk of heart disease by 30%. They reduce the risk of type 2 diabetes. They reduce the risk of Alzheimer's. They reduce the risk of Parkinson's. They reduce the risk of cancer. Typically, breast and prostate are the two biggest ones. But on top of this, if you get someone to lose 10 pounds, 15 pounds of fat, you're going to have them have a 10% risk reduction of all cancer mortality, all cancer, period. So just by losing weight in patients, you see a giant cancer reduction. So not only do you see this reduction of all these other things, longevity that I look at, we're also seeing cancer reduction by just having some weight loss. Now, on top of that, you also see reductions of inflammation, which is massive. My biggest population is probably going to be postmenopausal women. I'm sure we have a few on the call right now, the Zoom. And when you take a GLP-1, you see reduces inflammation that you see happen when you go to menopause. When you lose estradiol and estrogen as you age, you see increases in what's called TNF alpha, interleukin 1 beta, interleukin 6. When these cytokines go up, you have more inflammation. So all of you women that get into menopause and saying, I have more aches and pains, that's because estrogen's gone. Well, guess what? GLP-1s work on these exact cytokines. So they reduce TNF alpha, interleukin 1 beta, interleukin 6. And by bringing these down, inflammation goes down. Whole body inflammation goes down. Brain inflammation goes down. You drive brain inflammation down, you actually can increase cognitive function in people. So people feel like they have a little better brain power. I've also seen the craving reduction. If you haven't taken a GLP-1 yet, when you do see GLP-1 or you try taking one, you'll notice these cravings go down. So gosh, I had patients tell me they stopped biting their nails. One woman told me that. I had a woman actually just yesterday, I had a patient come and say to me, and she's like, you put me in this GLP-1 and I don't like vegetables anymore. And I was like, well, that's probably not great. But she's like, you just shut down. Like, I have no desire for this anymore. So I'm not that everything that GLP-1s do for cravings is great, but it does great for craving control. So I personally use low dose or microdose, if we want to use that word, GLP-1s often to help reduce all these risks of aging, diseases of aging, like I just talked about, as well as the craving reduction. In fact, for me, semaglutide is my favorite GLP-1 for craving control. We see great craving control with that. I see patients stop drinking alcohol. I see patients, I had a woman stop shopping. She had a shopping addiction. So anything you have, you're addicted or craving for, you see GLP-1s can work on that. So I often see that. And even if it doesn't stop your drinking because the craving goes down, you get so full that you can't drink more. Because I would tell you the number one thing that I see a lot of patients failing with their diet with is alcohol. The second you put that alcohol to your mouth, you start shutting down your body's ability to actually burn fat. So less alcohol is better. And if I can take some alcohol out of someone's hand by keeping them more full, say they're just too full to have the next drink, I've won. So GLP-1s, probably went over my 7 minutes here, 6 minutes, but they are one of the best things I have in practice. And if you want something to help you live longer, to feel better, and to lose a little bit of weight, GLP-1s are in. That's why I sell. I had every patient I saw today in practice, I think I had maybe 8 or 10. Every one of them I talked about GLP-1s with. It is something I talk about every single day to patients. I just see so many positive benefits. I understand everyone worries about the adverse effects. That is a very common thing we hear about. Nausea. There's some, potential fatigue that might happen. You might see some heartburn. You might have some loose stool or constipation. Those things do happen. They are real. But the bigger things that we see in practice, for example, they have one on blindness. Everyone's freaking out about this now. There have been multiple studies that have shown there is very, very little chance for that to happen. In fact, if it even happens, and right now they still don't have enough data to show that. They did a study, it actually came out a few months ago, and they showed no correlation to this vision loss with the semaglutide, GLP-1, which is the one they keep talking about with vision loss. No possible way that would happen. So the correlation wasn't there, and they think they had 170,000 people they looked at to determine this. Another study came out and said there was a 1 in 10,000 risk. So I always tell patients, look, if the risk is 1 in 10,000 vision loss, and I'm not saying it even is, it happens more likely in diabetics and in people who are obese. That's more common for this to happen in those people anyways, and this is what they're looking at. But if it is 1 in 10,000, that means you have a better chance of getting your car, driving to the store, and dying in a car accident than you do of having this happen. And that is if that even potentially happens. That was one study they found that was the lowest risk possible. So I always tell people, things that might happen. The risk of pancreatitis is there. It's less than 1%, typically between 0.2 to 0.5% pancreatitis. So there is some, and I will say this, very, very small amount of risk of taking these things for something bigger to happen. But we have not seen medullary thyroid carcinoma. It's another one everyone asks about. Medullary thyroid carcinoma, and more you might get thyroid cancer. They haven't found in humans. It was only found in animals. Animals have 3 times more uptake into their thyroid than we have. So it isn't something we've seen in humans so far. And GLP-1s, by the way, have been out since 2007. That's another thing I have to remind you. Semaglutide is the newest in the block, and it's been out for, about 5 to 7 years now. But we have had GLP-1s out since 2007. These have been out for a long time with lots and lots and lots of safety data behind them before we got semaglutide. So I have to remind everyone there has been many, many years of data there available for people. So I do not want to be worried about them. If you are on the fence, try them. I can't say enough good stuff about how much it does for the longevity space, for inflammation, for weight loss. Like, they have been a godsend for patients. We probably, I would say, have 40% of my patients on GLP-1s in general.
Oh boy, if that's really good, then now go on and share with us some information about GLP-1 GIP, aka tirzepatide, or the dual agonist, however, or GLP-2. I'm hearing all sorts of names. So, what's the difference between GLP-1 and GLP-2? Let's just call
Well,
it
yeah. So I'm first going to correct you a little bit, honey. They're amazing, but there is no
that. I
GLP-2. I
know
had
there
someone
is no
argue with me yesterday.
GLP-2. I'm
They,
just
they were like,
renaming
someone
it.
argued, yeah, someone argued with me yesterday. The new GLP-3 is retatrutide. They say GLP-3. I'm like, there is no GLP-3. I'm going to be technical because I'm a nerd. There is only a GLP-1. If you're searching these other things, they don't exist. Well, we're considering
Well, I'm just
GLP-2. We
giving
call
the
it this.
street
No,
name.
I know,
I'm
I
just
know, I
giving the
know.
street names. I know.
I'm just saying that the thing is, we call it the dual agonist, right? Because it is two things. It is going to be a GLP-1 and a GIP, which is a glucose-dependent insulin polypeptide. It's a lot of things to say, so we shorten to GIP. GIP is also going to work on this insulin resistance that we have. So that's the one thing GLP-1s. I need to tell everyone this. The reason we have GLP-1s is they can work on insulin resistance. If you're starting to have insulin resistance, and this is basically found by running insulin on patients, if your insulin is over 5, when you are fasting, which if it's not being run in your panels, you should have your doctor run this. It lets you know the beginning stage of insulin sensitivity, which then leads to you starting having diabetes. So my hemoglobin A1C, which tells me my blood sugar, is a great marker. But if I don't know where your insulin's at, I might see your hemoglobin A1C and say you're just fine. Well, the problem is you might be pushing out more and more and more insulin to maintain that blood sugar. And when that happens, you start to have insulin sensitivity. So GLP-1s can actually help reverse this. They can reverse that beginning stage of insulin sensitivity. GIP does the same thing. So GIP is not nearly as strong as GLP-1s. This is why every one of these future drugs coming out, peptides, are going to have a GLP-1 in them because GLP-1 is really the strongest mover in this market. GIP pairs well, they work synergistically on the same areas. So a GIP is going to have the same kind of benefits you're going to have from a GLP-1. It's going to have the same kind of adverse effects that you have with the GLP-1 when it comes to, nausea and vomiting or, heartburn, fatigue, loose stool. Now, the reason we like the GIP GLP is that when you use the GIP, you have less severe of these adverse reactions. So less of this nausea, you have less this heartburn, less fatigue, less loose stool constipation, and you have more weight loss because now you add the GIP in, which helps even more with insulin, helps more with insulin sensitivity. It helps reduce inflammation even further. So they are synergistically working to do the exact same thing overall, which is helping bring down your blood sugar, helping control your insulin sensitivity, helping with satiety, helping with, all the things that GLP-1s do. GLP-1s and GIPs work on multiple systems in the body. I think I forget to say this. They work on kidneys. So you can see people getting on a dual agonist and a single agonist, and you can see people who have kidney disease stops kidney disease in its tracks. It slows it down significantly if you have kidney disease. You have patients out there that have some kind of liver dysfunction. GIP and GLP is going to help slow and stop and possibly reverse any kind of liver dysfunction. In fact, semaglutide just got put on the FDA's approval list for working with fatty liver disease. And this is huge. I mean, you now can help reverse fatty liver disease using a GLP-1, and even adding a GIP makes it better. So I always tell people, whatever the GLP-1 does, the dual agonist does even better. It does better weight loss. It does better inflammation. It does better for longevity. You keep adding these things are going to keep getting better and better. So
Mm.
I will always encourage people to use tirzepatide over semaglutide. The only people, if I had some in my office and they're like, well, why would I pick one over the other? It's cost. Ultimately, it's cost. I always tell people the tirzepatide, the dual agonist, it costs a bit more. That's ultimately what it is. Your single agonist costs a little bit less. And so people want to spend a little bit less. I totally understand it. But the weight loss you have from a dual agonist is going to be even better. We're looking at 18 to 20% weight loss versus this 15 to 18. So now you have a better weight loss. And I have patients go from semaglutide to the dual agonist. They go to tirzepatide. Why? They stop losing weight on sema, and they have a few more percent they can lose on tirza. So I will tell you, I personally would rather have patients be on tirzepatide or the dual agonist. If it came down to just it's the cost, I would say please just do the tirzepatide. It's going to be better for you. There's better long-term results. We don't have as much of the data coming back on longevity from tirzepatide yet because it just hasn't been out as long. The studies haven't finished. But we do expect all this data that will mirror your single agonist will happen in your dual agonist and be even better with what we're already seeing. We already know the dual agonist does better in many, many areas. Again, I can't tell people enough. Heart disease is your number one killer in the United States. And if we can reduce that by 30% or more by being on a single or dual agonist, please, for the love of God, get on it. It can help reduce your risk of death by such a massive amount in one of the biggest areas that we see as the number one cause of death in the United States.
Okay, Jason, quick question. Who should microdose and who should take a full dose?
Oh, that's a good one. Well, I use full dosing for patients that are trying to lose weight, right? And it's dosing up, right? I shouldn't say full dose. Um, I have patients that are diabetics now that I work with. I have type 1 diabetics, I have type 2 diabetics, and I typically go, I don't even use the single agonist with my type 1 diabetics. I just say, screw it, we're going right to the dual agonist automatically. I think anyone that's wanting to lose weight should be moving up in dose because weight loss gets eventually, you need more dosing. I did a video on this a couple of days ago. Why is my GLP-1 not work for me? Well, part of this is chronic use will cause beta arrestin to involute these receptors on the GLP-1. So to be fully correct here, they're actually GLP-1 receptor agonists is what these peptides are. Receptor agonists, meaning they're working on the GLP-1 receptor that's on the cell. So this means the receptors in the cell can go back inside if we use GLP-1s too long or too high of a dose. You start to have that response went in. So I'm always like the lowest dose possible to get the response you want. So moving up slowly is a really good option for people because as you move up slowly, you're just less likely to push those receptors back into the cell. Once the receptors go into the cell, you have to let them come out, which could take months. I tell patients up to 6 months to let those receptors reset. So I've had patients come to me and say, I stopped losing weight on this. I don't know what to do. Well, you might have to move from a single agonist to a dual agonist. That's potentially possible. That's double agonist. You have an extra layer of something that can help. And again, some people genetically have these beta arrestin and this involution happen more frequently and faster. So there are people who genetically just can't use a GLP-1. It doesn't work for them for multiple reasons. Um, there's polymorphisms that basically occur that have less dense receptor agonists on there, or they have less receptors on the cell. So just unfortunate with this. But again, I would say the people that should be using the microdosing, anyone that just wants to do it for longevity, inflammation, that's what I use it for. I'm using it as microdosing. I want to live longer. I have no weight to lose right now. I have nothing I want. I don't want to lose weight. That's like terrible. I'm trying to eat as much food as I can. I have some beef chips next to me. I got some fruit. I'm eating all the time. I don't want weight loss. I just want to bring my inflammation down and reduce my risk of aging, diseases of aging. So that's who I'm using the microdose with. The people I'm using the full dose with are people that are wanting weight loss. That's really what it is. Weight loss dosing versus, hey, I want to live a little longer and I want to reduce my inflammation.
Okay, Jason, I'm gonna ask you three myths or
Okay.
present three myths. If you could spend 30 seconds, I know it's gonna
Yeah.
be so hard.
Like, go
30
shorter. Okay.
seconds on these three myths. Let's debunk. Does do GLP-1s, GIPs, and either of them, do they cause depression? I know you did a video on this, but I get this question a lot.
Yeah.
Do they cause
Okay.
depression? 30 seconds, 60 seconds, go.
Technically, in some people, yes, they can affect dopamine. So I always say you might get some of this with that. It is very, very, very rare. They do affect depression. This is because, again, the craving control we see, reducing the cravings, part of that is the amount of dopamine coming down. Now, if you look at depression, we have options from LEMD, don't we? We have the GHRHs, which is the growth hormone releasing hormones, testosterone, sermorelin. These things can bring dopamine levels back up. So I do have patients this happens with. Guess what? I put them on a GHRH and they're like, oh, I feel better. Magic. Yeah, because I put you on something that helps improve dopamine levels. So, yes, they potentially can. It is not likely. It's super rare for that to happen,
Love
though.
it. You did well. 30 seconds. Great job. Next one. I've heard this one before. This one's new, but someone messaged and asked if I could ask this. If you inject directly above the navel, the belly button, you'll get better results and you'll feel the effects a lot more. Have you heard this one? This one's a good one. Has anyone else experienced this? Put in the chat. So directly above the belly button, you'll get better results and less side
Um,
effects.
okay, Joey, you've heard it too. That's great. I'm glad, Joey. Thank you. Um, well, let me tell you, no. These things are long acting. The half-life in these things are like 7 days. So it doesn't matter where you inject. Because look, if you were injecting your neck, please, ladies, go for it. Guys, go for it. I don't care where you inject. You inject your kneecap for all I care. Wherever you inject is going to go the whole body. Now,
Don't inject your
technically,
kneecap. It
no,
might
I'm
hurt.
not. Don't, yeah, no inject your kneecap. Okay, I'm just being sarcastic here. Okay, please don't do that. Um, the GLP-1s are not going to work any better just because you inject above the belly button. Theoretically, I will say this as one caveat: when you inject something like BP757 at the site of the injury, there is no research showing that it actually gets your injury better. It's systemic. The half life is long enough to go around the body. Though there is an argument that some of that will stay in that area a little bit longer. So maybe, I'm not saying this is even possible, but maybe if you inject right over the belly button, it's near the stomach or near the pancreas. Maybe that's part of it. But GLP-1s are everywhere in the body. So it doesn't make sense because you have GLP receptors all over the
Mhm.
stinking body in lots of different organs. So the half-life is so long that it doesn't matter where you inject it, as long as you inject it or take it orally. Again, there's oral versions of this that totally gets defeated because you take an oral version of this and you still have weight loss. So no, it doesn't
All
work any
right.
better.
Good to know. And last one, last myth.
Yeah.
Let's debunk this one. If you alternate between GLP-1s and GLP-1 GIP, so sema
Mhm.
tirzepatide, if you alternate, you'll get better results because your body gets accustomed to one. So then you switch it, you get over the plateaus. I've heard this one over and over. So debunk that myth or maybe validate it. I don't know.
Uh,
Is
no,
it a myth?
false. No. So if you go back and forth between them, you're still going to get acclimated to GLP-1 no matter what. I will say going from a single agonist to a dual agonist, yes, because when you do have add the GIP, you have different receptors, so you might hit something else. But going back and forth, no, they are both GLP-1s. They're going to hit their same exact receptors. So adding that's why adding GLP-1s together doesn't really make a difference because they're hitting the same receptors. So no, it doesn't
Amazing.
actually matter going back and forth. That won't change the ability for you to get used to it.
Okay. Amazing. Thank you, thank you, thank you. That was a big category we covered. We spent a lot of time. Let's cover the next big category, GHRH and GHRPs, tesamorelin, ipamorelin, samorelin. Let's cover those three as a
Perfect.
category.
Those are some of my favorites. Growth hormone goes down to about 10% of what you made by the time you hit 60. It's going down by 15% a decade after the age of about 18. So the ability to make growth hormone can still stay there from 18 to 99. What does growth hormone do for you? It does brain function, libido, fat loss, muscle gain, mood improvement, sleep, immune, repair recovery. We're going to see improvements in skin, hair, nails, motivation, energy. Think of growth hormone as all the great things you want. So it's going to raise the tide on all the levels in your body. There are specific peptides that you can use with EllieMD that will raise some of these areas really well. But it's the overarching everything gets better. There are three that I know Ellie has. Testosterone is by far the strongest. It has the largest improvement in growth hormone output. As you improve growth hormone, you improve all these things I talked about. So all these things are just going to work better with testosterone than the sermorelin, which is a bit weaker. And then ipamorelin can be stacked with all these. Ipamorelin is a growth hormone releasing peptide. Growth hormone releasing hormone is going to be the gas growth hormone releasing. So it's going to push down on your growth hormone output. The growth hormone peptide is going to be the brake. It releases the brake. Somatostatin, which is on the pituitary, pulls it off. As you get older, somatostatin holds hard on the pituitary, doesn't allow you to release as much growth hormone. So release the gas. You push down release the brake, sorry, push down the gas. You have a much better output, right? And the cars got both at the same time, you're winning. So of these three, utilizing both together is the best output. So I've had women, in fact, I'm sure some LEMD clients have come to me and said, I'm bloating when I take testosterone, ipamorelin. Well, here's the thing. 10 to 20% of people who take testosterone will have some bloating, but it doesn't even out. For many people, after you wait the 4 weeks, about half those people will lose the bloating. So yes, there's some bloating, and there's less bloating on sermorelin. People say this all the time to me. I hate less bloating on sermorelin. Yeah, because it's not as strong. So technically, I would tell people you can always lower the dose of the testosterone because again, it is stronger. It is over twice as strong as sermorelin. So I'm all about people doing what's best for them. I do think in general, testosterone is the end all be all. Testosterone, ipamorelin is the best. Sermorelin is just weaker, which again is why people have less bloating. Testosterone can also increase hunger some. This is because growth hormone increases hunger. Growth hormone increases bloating and water retention. So as you push these harder, you push that envelope harder, those things occur. It's not because testosterone isn't as good, has more adverse effects to it, is only because it is stronger in the system, which means you get more benefits from it. And I will say these things are meant to be lifelong. I'm sorry, but growth hormone is not coming back. There's no magic shot we can do for you per month and then say, well, you're good. All the studies that should work and have been shown on testosterone, which is an FDA-approved product, actually, they have found that you can take it and reduce visceral adipose tissue, that, by about 30%. That's massive. You can increase, you
Amazing.
can reduce the amount of fat around your organs, heart, which is massive. If you can reduce that, you reduce the risk of heart disease and all these other things. Pancreas fat goes down, which can reduce the risk of your type 2 diabetes. There's lots of great things about this. But if you stop taking it, that fat comes back. Because guess what? As you age, growth hormone goes down. When growth hormone goes down, fat starts to accumulate. This is part of aging. If any woman out there, any man out there that's here, you obviously have realized as I get older, I accumulate more fat. That is partly because of hormones going down. That is a big thing from growth hormone. So you use these things as long as you possibly can, is what I tell my patients. I have patients who've been on testosterone and ipamorelin for 2+ years with me. Sermorelin, I personally don't use as much because testosterone runs so great. That's the one I try to get out there as much as I can. Though sermorelin is still a great option. If you want to do something and testosterone is too strong, sermorelin is still a really good option. I'm not poo-pooing it. If you want to improve your sleep, which so many people want to do at the age, growth hormone. I can't.
Mm.
First thing I do for patients when they complain about sleep is going to be growth hormone. It improves sleep so much. Deep sleep, restful sleep. You're going to feel recovered and repaired when you get up from taking these.
Yeah, the only downside to the Tessa IPA is the hunger. You do get a
Yeah.
little bit of hunger with the IPA. So I do recommend that you pair it with a good tirzepatide
Mhm.
or a GLP, GIP. That usually helps.
Or
So
increase your protein content. That's another thing I say. Eat more protein. Everyone should have
there
more
you
protein.
go.
You get that protein, fill you up. and you're less likely to eat the bad stuff. So, let's just push
By
that
the way,
protein a little further.
I love your analogy on the acceleration of the brake. I use that all the time to explain these two, but thank you.
Good.
We got a whole list here.
Yeah.
Let's keep going. Let's do our next one. You touched on this, GHK-CU, and then after that we'll do BPC TB 500. So GHK-CU, what is it?
Yeah, so GHK-CU, I talked about this before. It is going to improve collagen and elastin in the body. It's also going to improve stem cell activation. So repair, recovery. If you want better skin, hair, nails, GHK is where it's at. You can find this topically, and topically it works on the skin really well. But if you want systemic, where you want all of your body getting better with this tightening, of your skin. So elastin is going to cause the tightening. So for people out there that have lost weight and like my skin is a little bit loose now, a little crepey, GHKCU can help that. It is naturally made. Is a pretty blue color when you get to see GHKCU. It's a beautiful peptide, actually, when you look at it. And I would say it's one of my favorites because, again, it does improve this collagen output. And so often, one of the things we care about is obviously how we look. We're all vain. We all want to look better. No one wants to get old and lose their hair. GHKCU can help improve hair. It can help improve the way your skin is, fine lines, wrinkles. It can help with sun damage. It can help with the repair of your DNA, so some DNA repair to it. I've used it before during the fires that were happening in LA a little while ago. It works on lung repair. So I had a lot of patients up there. I discounted all the GHKCU to get them to them as if I could, because I really want these people to kind of improve their lung function. So I'm using GHKCU all the time. I will add it to the BPC thymosin beta 4 TB500. But GHK by itself is a standalone. I've had patients with arthritis. I just gave it to them because they wanted to work on their skin. Older woman, and she's saying, my skin doesn't look as good as it used to. It's not popping like it used to. I put her on, and next thing you know, she's telling me, my gosh, I had arthritic hands and my pain went away. So it's going to also work on that same repair mechanisms that we're seeing with the other repair peptides. I also love it for anyone out there that's going to get surgery. It can reduce scarring. So the big thing that we miss out on is scar tissue. When scar tissue forms, obviously no one wants it. And when you go through surgery, you're going to have scar tissue. You can use this for any major injury. You can give GHKCU and reduce the scarring that's going to form. That scar tissue after you've had surgery is going to get arthritic. That's what eventually happens to anything. If you have had your knees worked on, shoulders worked on, something done in joints, you see that scar tissue does become arthritic. If you use a GHKCU post-surgery, you can reduce that risk of arthritic aging from that scar tissue. So I love GHKCU. It's something I take every day. I've been on GHKCU for years now. Again, it goes down as you age. We naturally make it, and it does reduce as we get older. So bringing it back, it's another thing. Long term, I add zinc to it. So anyone that's on GHKCU, one of the important things I want you to hear here is zinc. I'm utilizing 50 milligrams with my patients of zinc orally. This is an injection to taking zinc orally. If I'm doing GHKCU for 2 months, I'm not worried about it. I'm not seeing copper deplete zinc that fast. But if I have someone that wants to be on GHKCU and they want to be on it for a year, great. They need to be on zinc with this. It has to be there because it will eventually deplete the zinc levels in your body. So yeah,
Thank you.
GHKCU,
Thank
do
you.
it. Please take it. Skin, hair, nails. Who doesn't want better skin, hair, nails as they
I
age?
know. And not to put Brenda and including myself, see, I got all these baby hairs growing as a result of using my GHK. But Brenda, not to put you on the spot, but Brenda was showing me her before and afters, like all the little baby hairs coming in. It's pretty remarkable.
Well, it's
And
so funny. I had a patient a while ago that wanted to get on this. Her hair was thinning, young, in her 20s. And she started with me, and she kept posting. She wasn't posting her hair, but she'd take pictures of her face, her fine lines and wrinkles. And she was, I mean,
yeah,
God, the girl was like, 29, 30 years old. She was young. And I was like, you don't even have wrinkles. But she took before and afters and she kept posting them. And her skin was actually aging backwards. I could not believe it, that she's posting this. And that wasn't what she wanted it for. She's like, I want my hair to grow, which it was growing. But she was more impressed actually with the fact that her skin looked so much better. So I do tell people, if you want better skin, better quality skin, again, elastin is going to tighten the skin, and then you improves hyaluronic acid as well, so you get some more plump. So now we're having more plump, tighter, firmer, less wrinkles. Like, who doesn't want something that's going to do that?
Thank you. I know. And if you want your one and done that has it all from tretinoin, NAD, GHKCU, we got two vial equivalents of GHKCU in this one serum.
Oh, I love
You
that. I
want
didn't
your
realize
one
Honey
and
had that.
dones and
Love
the
it.
Alevitech absorption technology, and it has splanthol, it has exosomes, it has it all in here. If you guys want that, I have the topical version available. So go check it out. And it's a 2 month supply. For this product, you would probably pay $600, $700, but it's available. So not to put a little sale ad in there, but this
Not to
product,
be salesy
because
here. I love GHK.
I'm all about one and dones. Like, give me that
Yeah,
one thing that covers all the bases. And I love that. So we are women. We like to know how long will it take before we see the results.
of
Dr.
course.
Jason.
Of course, yeah. So I gotta say, I love the GHK topical. We actually offer that in our practice now, something similar to that. I I'm a man. Let me tell you, ladies, get your husbands on this, please. I'm terrible with my skincare routine. I don't do much of anything. I should. I talk to men all the time about this. We are terrible with our skin routines. Um, GHKCU will probably take you, I don't know, I tell people 6 to 8 weeks before they actually, before they're like, give it 6 to 8 weeks before you give up on it, is what I tell everyone. It might start seeing results in a few weeks. Some people might take a month, but give yourself 2 months on to see if it makes a difference. And I would tell you, I use a topical as well as the injectable now, and I'm not great with my skincare routine, so I'm not using it all the time like I should. It should be every day, but I don't use it like I should, unfortunately. But I do love GHKCU. I am about it. If I did any skincare routine at all, GHK is what I use now. I do see the best benefits from GHKCU. It is one of the four things I recommend: retinoic acid, vitamin C topically, not sunblock, and then of course GHKC was on that list of mine that I think is absolutely incredible. If you want better skin, you can use injections, you can use topical, you can use both at the same time, and you will eventually see better results with that. So,
Well, we got all of that. Everything that you mentioned, we got that in here, minus the
oh,
SPF.
great, even better.
And we got, oh, it's your one and done. Everything that you just need, we got it here, and it's prescription grade. So go check it out. Okay, let's move on to, oh my gosh, I think we have only one more product. That means, guys, that means we get a treat. You have to come back for round two so we can finish our products. But let's cover BPC next, if you don't mind. Jason, you
Yeah,
love
so
our community, so
I
you
do
don't
love
mind
you. I'll
coming
be
back.
back. You can't get rid of me. Me and my caterpillar here. I love BPC 157. Okay, I love all the peptides. I really can't say there's anything I don't love in the peptides. There's things I use more often than others. BPC and GLP-1s are probably the most used things in practice. I do think your tesamorelin, sermorelin, ipamorelin will have more than general people get out of it. There's just more that it does. But when it comes to repair, recovery, oh my gosh. I work out twice a day, pretty much every day. I cut my workout shirt for you today, honey. I was being very nice. I left the gym very sad. But normally, working out as much as I do, I need to repair and recover. BP 757 does that. When you get a little bit older, repair, recovery doesn't work as well. You have an injury. Let's say you have a surgery, or you have a tendon that's been overused, or you've had some overuse of muscles, some overuse injury, period. BP757 is the best repair recovery peptide that I have to use. It is my starting point. If someone comes to me and has some kind of injury, the first thing I'm going to use them is BP757. And it's so versatile with absolutely almost zero adverse effects. I had my first patient ever give me the first adverse effect ever last week. I've had over 1,000 patients using BP757. And the guy came to me and he said, I think I'm, what did he say? He said something, I think it's affected my dopamine some. And I was like, that's something I've seen before. And I mean, I used to prolifically write on Reddit. So I used to see a lot of people coming and saying things. And it's probably the only thing I've ever seen is, hey, some people have said, oh, my dopamine's down, which is weird. They're really not great. Kind of like how the GLP-1s might affect dopamine as well. Anyway, BPC 157 really has no adverse effects. I give it to everyone. I'm not scared of it. You can give vials of stuff. I have given myself 20 milligrams IV. I use it in patients IV. I use injections. I use oral for gut. If you have any gut issues at all, BPC oral is wonderful for gut. If you can get BPC topically, you have a wound you want to put on, it's great. So you can use a BPC topically to the outside, and you can use injectable BPC to heal from the inside out. So if there's an injury that you have, or you want to recover a little faster because you're an athlete, you're going to the gym, you're doing stuff, and you just can't recover as well, BPC 157 is where it's at. I run this year round. I have not come off BPC in probably 5 years. I think it's one of my favorite peptides. It's one of the only ones I've run as long as I have. And again, anything that requires you to repair, BP757 is where it's at. It is fully on recovery mode. It does what's called angio modification. So it's going to move blood vessels towards the site of injury, so that you can repair, recover faster. For people out there who think they have to inject near the site of the injury, absolutely not.
Mm,
It's not going to make a single difference. So anyone out there who's like, oh, my shoulder got injured, should I inject my shoulder? No, just inject your belly. Just the GLP-1s,
it
just
knows what to
injecting
do.
above your belly is not going to make a difference. Just put it in there. The half-life is long enough that you're fine to inject it once a day. Um, I can't tell you patient to patient to patient, we do BPC and they come back 3 weeks
Oh,
later and they feel better. So I'm telling you, give it about 3 weeks to kick in. It's not going to happen overnight. Some patients I've done it, and then 2 days later, oh my God, I'm magically better. Maybe it's placebo. I don't know, but I would tell you usually it takes about 3 weeks before I start seeing a difference in patients. And then I'll run it for 2 months, 3 months if the injury's still there and they're still getting better. So,
my mom swears by BPT. She
oh,
swears
for
like
arthritis, oh my
for her
God, if you have arthritic pain,
arthritis. Mm.
do BP757.
Oh, she's like, I couldn't sleep last night. And then she's like, "Ugh, I forgot my tirzepatide. She microdoses tirzepatide and her BPC. She's back on track when she starts her
Good.
liquid. So, thank you. One last question. If you could spend just a couple minutes, because I get this all the time, stacking. People
Yeah.
want to know, and I wish I had a syringe. Where are my props? Amir makes fun of me because he's like, honey has her desk full of props. So what is stacking and how do we stack? Here, let me get
What can go in the same
my
syringe? This is a good one.
file. Yeah.
BP757.
What can we stack? What can we not stack? What is stacking? Why don't we just start with
So if you
stacking?
want to reduce the number of needle injections you have, yeah, there you go. What can we put together? There are very few things I want a patients put together. There is nothing that, I wouldn't put glutathione with your peptides, so that wouldn't go together. I wouldn't put B12 with my glutathione with anything either. But when it comes to
But
peptides,
why? Why is
yeah,
that? I'm curious.
why is it? Just because they could break down more. They could be. I'm not putting. I'll tell you, glutathione is a peptide. For anyone out there that wants to know, glutathione is another peptide. It's 3 amino acids. It's really great. I know EllieMD has it. It's great for oxidative stress and reducing reactive oxygen species. It's an antioxidant. It's wonderful. Works in the liver. Anyway, I'm not putting anything with with glutathione. First off, glutathione doesn't feel good when injected sub-Q, so I tend to stay away from that. I like to put my GHK-CU with my BP757 because it gets the burn to be a little bit less. When you're out there that said, I saw someone say it burns. Yeah, it does burn. This is very true. So you mix with BP757, you have that kind of burn get taken away. I will
They
mix
call
that
that the
with
glow
BP.
stack, by the way.
Yeah, I would say
I like it.
BP757, thymosin beta 4, TV500. I like that. We use all three in practice. I want to reduce injections as much as possible, patients. I would tell you, some of these things are not stable to sit in a vial. So there are some companies I know that send out pre-filled syringes to patients with 7 to 10 peptides mixed together. That is not going to be stable. Not all peptides together are stable. This is the thing. Some of them do degrade when they're together. Are they going to degrade 40% in that syringe when you do the injection over the course of, a minute? No. So I'm always encouraging my patients to put as much as they can in the syringe. I have patients mixing tesamorelin, ipamorelin, GHK-CU, BPC, all in the same syringe. I'm like, just do one and be done. There's going to be some degradation. GHK-CU in general doesn't play well with others. I would tell you right now, it doesn't play well in general with others. But when you're doing an injection and you do it right away, guess what? It doesn't matter. It's such a small amount that you're going to have degrade. There's no issue. And I will say, it's not that anything's going to be bad. None of this is going to hurt you. You can mix all this together. It's not really going to hurt you. There's only probably a handful of peptides. I think LL37 with thymosin alpha 1, you don't even offer these that I've seen precipitate where you can see something come out of the solution. Most peptides are inert, meaning they can be mixed together. They might degrade a little bit, but they're not going to harm you to be together. So pretty much everything LEMD has, peptide wise, can be mixed at the time of injection. I just wouldn't put together, leave my fridge and walk away because, again, there can be some degradation over the course of time.
Mhm.
So, yeah, I would say that would be the thing. You can probably stack all these together. You want to put BP757, thymosin beta 4, EB500, sorry, and GHK-CU together. Great, go for it. They're going to be great. We call this the glow stack. I use this now in practice. It's amazing. It's one of my favorite stacks to use. I use it all the time. A patient today, he left with the mix today. So I use that. I personally mix my BP757, thymosin beta 4, sorry, TB500, GHK-CU, and testosterone and ipamorelin together. That's my shot I'm going to take before bed tonight. So, yes, all these things can be used together. You can stack them very easily. If you want to make it easy and not do injections and be a pin cushion, I recommend putting as much as you can together to make it easy for yourself.
Oh, Jason, we could spend another hour, two
You
hours.
could. Mhm.
We should actually. We need you back. This is great. What? Thank you. Can we give Jason a round of applause? Like, get your virtual applauses out. Thank you so, so much, Jason. This was super informative. We have to do a part two. So, this is your part one. Part two, we're going to cover more. Thank you, thank you, thank you for tuning in. Thank you, all of you, for being here. Jason, thank you again for educating our community. We love you so, so much. Every single one of us, as a caterpillar or not. If you show up normal, we'll still love you. Don't you worry.
Thank you,
Well,
honey.
thank you all. Thank you. Thank you. And have a safe and happy Halloween, everyone. Hope you enjoyed this segment, and we'll see you back, Jason, for part two. Thank you,
Thanks, honey.
everyone.
Appreciate you. Thanks,
Oh, I
everyone.
love Brandon's caterpillars on the screen. Take care. Have a good night. Bye.
Bye.